great 20th century leader of American Orthodox Jewry, Rabbi Joseph Ber Soloveitchik, once said that nothing affected the human being more than music. Music is powerful. Music doesn't forget. The music of Kol Nidre takes us to another place, another time with its dotted notes, our world with the world beyond, our family with those loved ones who are no longer physically with us. Yeshiva Shel Mala, we call on the court on high, and the Yeshiva Shel Mata, the earthly court, to bear witness to our devotion and commitment to be true to our promises during the coming year, to do better and to commit to tshuva, to personal change and societal change. Our world now, more than ever, is in need of tikkun, of correction, and so as we prepare to recite these sacred words of Kol Nidre, let us prepare ourselves by setting an intention to pour out our hearts to God. We turn to page 204, and we rise. Reading together first in the English. Responsively, who can understand the source of our errors? Cleanse me of secret faults, and restrain your servant. From willful sins, may they not control me. Then shall I be of wrongdoing, wholly clear of transgression. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer.
Yeshiva Shel Mala, Yeshiva Shel Mata, Eldat Hamakom, V'Eldat Hagal, Anu Matirin Lahit Ha'avoyanim B'Shiva Shel Mala U'B'Shiva Shel Mata Al Dat Hamakom Ve'al Dat Hakahal Anu Matirin Lahitpa'al Im Havaryanim B'Shiva Shel Mala U'B'Shiva Shel Mata Al Dat Hamakom Ve'al Dat Hakahal Anu Matirin Lahitpa'al Im Havaryanim.
Page 205.
Shevitin Betelin Umvutalin Lasherin Velakayamin Nildrana Esare Ushevuatana Shavuatana, La Shavuot.
All the vows on our lips, the burdens in our hearts, the pent-up regrets about which we brooded and spoke through prayers without end on last Atonement Day, did not change our way of life, did not bring deliverance in the year that has gone. From mountain peaks of fervor, we fell to common ways at the close of the fast. Will you hear our regrets? Will you open our prison, release us from shackles of habit? Will you accept our prayers, forgive our wrongs, though we sin again and again? In moments of weakness, we do not remember promises of Atonement Day. Recall that we easily forget. Take only our heart's intent. Forgive us, pardon us. Continuing in the Aramaic with Kol Nidre on page 2205. Kol Nidre Vesarei Lacharomei Vekonomei Vechinuyei Vekinusei Udishtevana Udiacharimena Vidyasalna Al Nafshatana Miome Kippurim Ezeh איחרת נביאון, כל הון יהון שרון, שביקים, שביתין, בטלין ומבוטלין, לשרירין ולקיימים. נדרנה לא נדרה וסרנה לא אסרה ושועתנה לשבועות. Continuing in the middle of 205. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם, כי לכל העם ישגגה. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם, כי לכל העם ישגגה. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם, כי לכל העם ישגגה.
סלח נא לעוון העם הזה, כגודל חסדך, וכאשר נשאת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה, ושם נאמר, ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We remain standing as the Sifrei Torah are returned to the ark.
seated.
Can you guys hear me? Everyone in the back? All right. I wish the entire congregation a Shana Tova. May we be blessed with a year of good health, happiness, and peace. My name is Morgan Gadarov, the 32nd president of Temple Bethel. I am in my second year as president. Last year, my goals were simple: bring people back into the synagogue, increase membership, and improve the security of the building, and increase participation in our fundraisers and programs to help us remain financially sound. We've had some losses in the congregation, but we've gained some new members. The security of the building has increased, and the response to our fundraisers has increased over the last year as well. My goals have not changed. We still need to increase membership and get more people involved in fundraising. We also never stop looking for ways to improve the security of our building. As for being more open, we are. We have in-person services on Shabbat, as well as daily minions on Mondays and Thursdays. We still offer streaming of all of our Shabbat services via Facebook and YouTube, and we have daily minions via Zoom. There are more in-person programs. There were more in-person programs over the last year, and there are more to come. Some of the upcoming events are a virtual art auction. Of course, that's the one's not in person, but comedy night, Hanukkah, Sukkot dinner, and the return of Pakapoo. For more up-to-date information on the upcoming events and how to sign up, please see our website. We are a congregation of 373 family units. We are always looking to add more members. We hope to accomplish this by adding more family programs and activities to attract younger members as our current membership is getting older. This past year, we did say goodbye to our longtime custodian and friend, Phyllis Milbourne. Phyllis was always a friendly face at the door, and she will be missed. Alicia Zahn left her role as school director, although she remains a congregant of the synagogue and has been very helpful during this transition. I want to thank Michael Finley and Audrey Ettinger Finley for chairing the school director search, along with all who worked on the committee to search out and interview potential candidates. After interviewing several talented candidates, we are excited to announce that Paula Lynn has joined our Temple Bethel staff. Paula and her family have been Temple Bethel members for over 20 years. She brings many great attributes to her new role. The committee thought she was a solid candidate, a perfect fit, excellent with the children, and has a strong work ethic. As we promise to continue to ensure a vibrant Jewish life in the 21st century, we are extremely proud of the positive direction our religious school and the quality of our education provides for our children. We applied for the Employee Retention Tax Credit, and we were approved and received $186,000. This money will be used in lieu of the High Holiday Appeal, improving security in the building, and bolstering our building fund. We have made several security improvements over the last year, including adding more bollards around the building, installing man traps at our entry vestibules. We installed a fence around the children's play area and replaced our security company. Security improvements that will be addressed soon we will be adding additional security cameras inside and outside of the building, as well as bullet-resistant film coating on all of our windows. All these improvements make the building more safe and secure. Although not a security improvement, another thing we do to keep you safe is review our COVID policy and update as necessary. The pandemic is not over, but there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Until then, the COVID response team will meet when necessary to review if the policy needs to be updated. I would like to bring to your attention a project of one of our congregants, Julius Van Allen, has been working on. For the past 2 years, he has been working closely with his parents, leadership from Temple Bethel, and as well as his mentors from his Boy Scout troop to develop plans for a play set and benches to be donated to the religious school for use by its students. Eagle Scout projects are built by the Scout and funded entirely by donations and fundraisers. He has been able to raise some of the funds on his own, but still needs your help. You will be receiving a letter soon that outlines the project in further detail. Simchat Torah is in about 2 weeks. Please join us Monday night, October 17, 6:30, for our Erev Simchat Torah service, where we will ceremoniously roll back the Torahs. And then Tuesday morning, October 18th, 9 a.m., for the Simchat Torah service in the main sanctuary as we honor the Khatan Torah is given to Michael Finley, our E.G. Skoblienko School Vice President, and the honor of Kala Bereshit is given to Judy Krasnoff, our longtime congregant and our Kol Nidre violinist. For our major spring fundraiser, we are honoring Michelle Rohrbach, our executive director, for her dedication and exceptional service for the past 27 years. I hope that you will come and pay tribute to Michelle, who is most deserving of this honor. Many countless people worked hours working on the high holiday services to run smoothly. On behalf of the congregation, I extend a Todah Rabbah to each of the following members for all that they continue to do for our temple family. To Marlon Melman, our Ritual and Service Chairman, and the entire Ritual and Service Committee for coordinating high holiday services. To Bobby Weiner, on behalf of our sisterhood, for coordinating the beautiful floral arrangements that enhance our worship spaces throughout the high holiday season. To Dr. Larry Glazer and Maya Gould for chanting our morning services. To our Gabaim, Jay Needle, Glenn Eric, John Boatsam, and Miriam Harris Boatsam. To Bruce Rich for coordinating our greeters. To our Board of Directors, Men's Club, and Sisterhood for graciously volunteer as Bema sitters, ushers, greeters, and helping to set up for the worship space. To Marla Melman and Rance Block for coordinating the high holiday honors. To Marla Melman, Mark Fisher, and Chelsea Karp for helping leading high holiday services. To Glenn Block and the Security Committee for overseeing our security efforts. Abram Pure for overseeing our parking arrangements, and South Whitehall Township, the South Whitehall Police, and Executive Security Service for providing our security for the services during the holidays. To Paula Lynn for coordinating youth service, and to Rebecca Bernfeld, Gloria Lowy, Carly Zager, and parent volunteers working with the children's services and programs, and Brian Neff for arranging and conducting our teen services. To Judy Krasnoff, our violinist, for her spiritual rendition of Kol Nidre. To Gloria Snyder, our organist, for beautifully enhancing our Kol Nidre service. To our Bethel band, pieces of the puzzle, Nellie Gerstein, David Liswa, and his band while playing on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Maya Gould with help leading the family service on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. To our medical team advisors, Christy Block, Michael Zager, Bill Markson, Bill Combs, and Mark Vengrove for helping our members when they are in need. And a special thank you goes to our dedicated administrative staff, Executive Director Michelle Rohrbach, our school staff, Paula Lynn, Cheryl Block, and our office staff, Eileen Rubel, Cheryl Reitz, Kathy Katzman, and our maintenance staff, Crystalyn Ross, Deloy Davis, and Audley Francis, and the kitchen staff, Donna Schmel, Naomi Ritter, and Crystalyn Ross, for their dedication and tireless efforts in preparing for the holidays. Finally, Todah Rabbah to Rabbi Moshe Rashem and Sherry Spark for leading and spiritually enhancing our worship services during the high holiday season. Last year, I was going to end my speech with "Have an easy fast," but I was told it was more appropriate to say "Amar Chatima Tova." So this year, I looked for a reason why and found this, written by Rabbi Ramey. The purpose of a fast is to remind us that we need not be driven by our hungers, physiological, psychological, spiritual, etc. Fasting is a call to liberation that starts with the body, but does not end there. We must fast from negative emotions, debilitating thoughts, and the delusion that we are apart from God rather than a part of God. This is the real work of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and it shouldn't be easy. May your fast be what it's supposed to be, a raging fire burning everything that keeps you from being a blessing to all the families of the earth. Genesis 12:3. Gomar Katima Tova. May you be inscribed in the book of life.
Dr. Koch, Morgan. Our Marv service begins with the Baruch Hu on page 207. Please rise. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam. You may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Mashiach. Ma'avir yom u'mevil layla u'mavdil ben yom u'vein layla Adonai tzvaot shemo El Chai V'Kayam Taminim Lochalenu Leolam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Hamariv Aravi
Page 208.
Ahavat olam Be'et Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Adonai Eloheinu b'shovrenu u'tkumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hein chayeinu V'yorech yameinu Uva'em nege yomam v'layla Nege yomam v'layla Yavach al tasir Mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai כבוד, מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, שוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך וביהי שעריך, והיה עם שמוע.
Next two paragraphs of Shema are recited silently, page 209.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Continuing
Emunah
through
kozot
the
v'kayam
bottom of
avim.
page 209 through 210.
ומלכותו רצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר הקודש, נורא תהילות עושה חלם. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקרי הים לפני משה, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, יפד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני. Israel.
Page 211.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Hapoves God Shalom Shalom Aleinu והכל עמו ישראל. ברוך אתה, אדוני, הפורס חד שלום. שלום עלינו והכל עמו ישראל. ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו, ועל ירושלים שלום. ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו, ועל ירושלים שלום. ברוך אתה, אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל. שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל.
We turn to page 212. Please rise, and we'll recite together the biblical verse announcing Yom Kippur in the middle of the page, where it says, for Yom Kippur. For on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of Adonai you shall be pure.
כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם, לפני אדוני תטהרו.
We remain standing for the Chatzi Kaddish, followed by the silent Amidah, pages 213 through 221.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חיותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה לבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתפעל ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהלל ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילא ולעילא, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה ואמירן בעלמה וימרו אמן.
Story is told about the Hasidic Rebbe Elimelech Weisblum of Lezhensk, who lived during the 18th century. On one Yom Kippur Eve, the Rebbe Elimelech said to his disciples, if you want to know what a Jew should do on the eve of Yom Kippur, go to the tailor, the Schneider, who lives at the end of town. And his disciples said, okay. They made their way to the edge of town, to the tailor's house, and stood outside his window. They watched the tailor and his children recite the afternoon prayers. Then they put on their best clothes, lit the holiday candles, they ate the pre-fast meal. And after services that evening, when the house was quiet, the tailor went to the closet and he took out a ledger. And he said, Master of the universe, now the time has come for you and me to reckon up our sins for this past year. And at once he began to list the sins that he had committed, all of which were written down in the notebook. And then he went back to the closet and he took out a much thicker book, a heavier notebook. And he said, Lord, first I listed my sins, and now I'm going to list yours. And with that, he began to enumerate all the suffering, the sorrow, the illnesses, and tragedies that he and his community had endured during the year. And when he finished, he said, Master of the universe, to tell you the truth, you owe me more than I owe you. You know what, though? I'd just as soon not keep strict accounts with you. We're commanded to forgive the wrongs that have been done to us. Why don't I just forgive you, and you forgive me? A similar tale is told about Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, who also was a Hasidic leader, not in Poland, but in the Ukraine in the 18th century. It's interesting how these tales have tailors oftentimes as their main characters. So Levi Yitzchak once summoned a tailor and asked him about an argument that the tailor had with God. And the tailor said, I declare to God, you wish me to repent my sins, but I've only committed minor offenses. Maybe I kept a little leftover cloth, or maybe I kind of ate a little bit non-kosher food, or I didn't say the right blessing over the meal. But you, God, you have committed great sins. You've taken babies from their mothers and mothers from their babies. Remember, this is during the pogroms and persecutions. And he continued and said, let's call it even. May you forgive me, and I'll forgive you. So after listening intently, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak rose in anger when he heard this. And he said, why did you let God off so easily? You could have forced God to redeem the whole world. Perhaps more well-known is the Kaddish of Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, which was originally written in Yiddish. And the English translation reads, good morning to you, Lord of the world. I, Levi Yitzchak, son of Sarah of Berdichev, am coming to you with a taina, a complaint, actually a legal matter concerning your people Israel. What do you want of the Jewish people? It always says in the Torah, command the children of Israel. It always says, speak to the children of Israel. Merciful Father, how many people are there in the world? Persians, Babylonians, Edomites. The Russians, what do they say? Our emperor is the emperor. The Germans, what do they say? Our kingdom is the kingdom. But I, Levi Yitzchak, son of Sarah of Berdichev, say, Yitgadal v'yitkadash, glorified and sanctified be God's great name. And I, Levi Yitzchak, son of Sarah of Berdichev, say, I shall not go hence nor budge from my place until there be a finish, until the exile come to an end. Yitgadal v'yitkadash, glorified and sanctified be God's name. In a very powerful way, in a very kind of chutzpahdik way, the Hasidic tradition calls God to take account for all the wrongs that he has done during the past year. On some level, these stories may strike us as childish. In their stark anthropomorphism, personifying God in human terms and offering kind of a naive tit-for-tat theology. I'll forgive you if you forgive me. And that may seem somewhat silly. But on a deeper level, I think they offer a message that is terribly profound. They reflect a devotion and commitment to remain true to God, true to a God that may often disappoint, who sits by and watches as we destroy the world that he created. It's against that passive God that these Hasidic stories rebel. The biting irony of Levi Yitzchak's Kaddish lies in the words Yitgadal v'Yitkadash, which I'm sure you recognize as the mourner's Kaddish. Despite the fact that the Russians remain devoted followers of the emperor and the Germans are faithful to the kingdom, Jews who are forced to recite the mourner's Kaddish remain loyal to their God. Is it really fair that we endure such suffering? And the obvious answer to that is no. It isn't fair. And that's precisely why we summon God to court. We put God on trial for all the wrong done in this world. But we're not the only generation to feel the great distance between God's presence, God's justice in the world, and the lack of humanity in the world. In the 18th century, the Hasidic rabbis Elimelech of Lozhensk and Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev felt estranged from God and argued with God. It's kind of almost an oxymoron, right? They felt estranged, and yet they felt close enough to still argue with God. In a sense, what they were doing on Yom Kippur was not heretical at all, but was deeply rooted in the Torah itself. The tradition of arguing with God or calling God to task for his complete total absence and neglect of justice is well rooted in our tradition. Abraham, the father of monotheism, takes God to task for his lack of justice. As God's about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham yells at God, "Should not the judge of the entire earth act justly?" In fact, it is in offering that chutzpahdik response that Abraham ends up swaying God to act more justly. But there's another side to this outrage against God, a side that does not demand justice from God, but rather mercy, compassion, and forgiveness. We're commanded to forgive the wrongs that have been done to us. Why don't I just forgive you and you forgive me, concludes the Rabbi Elimelech story. What would it mean for us to forgive God? I think there are two parts to this. One is finding compassion within our hearts to forgive God, but the other part is taking greater responsibility for our own actions. Let me explain that. And I'll explain it by way of a book that I read over the summer. About a year ago, a Christian colleague, Sherry Blackman, the pastor of the Presbyterian Church of the Mountain in Delaware Gap, Water Gap, Pennsylvania, she wrote a book about her church. Her church is kind of an unusual church with a particular calling. It serves as home to the oldest continuously running hiker hostel along the Appalachian Trail. I think NPR had a piece on this during the summer. Some of you may have heard it. In it, she chronicles the stories of hikers on the Appalachian Trail that she's encountered over the years. In the church, there's a book, and the hikers can write entries into that book. And she tells of how the Appalachian Trail has been a sanctuary for decades for seekers, the tired and lost, those hungry for renewal, the broken and the grieving. Many of these hikers have experienced loss of one sort or another. Many set out on the trail in order to use the time to sort out questions that have been troubling them. Questions like, what's next for me in life? Is there a God? How can I liberate my life from what weighs it down? How can I forgive God? Most of the hikers on the Appalachian Trail, when they're hiking, they take on trail names. They don't use their real names. And there's a reason for this. You don't want people kind of like, you never know who's going to be out there hiking on these trails. So they assume names like MapQuest, Vanilla Thunder, Krusty Goat, Skywalker, Treasure Hunter, etc. Shortstop was the trail name of a man in his late 60s. And he was given that trail name because every few steps he had to stop to catch his breath. And he'd been hiking the trail for the second time in 3 years. His hair was leaden-colored and thin, and he sported a sparse white beard. His eyes looked wrung of color. He was soft-spoken, even as he explained that he had been angry at God. His story began when his grandson had been diagnosed with pediatric cancer on his 3rd birthday. Chemo destroyed his heart, and 5 months later, the child was dead. In 2012, says Shortstop, as he tells his story to Pastor Blackman, I started on the Appalachian Trail in January. I was alone, and one day I was in a shelter during a winter storm. No one else was there, and I went days without seeing anybody. Some people are afraid to be alone when they're grieving. God and I talked a lot. I cried. I screamed at him. There were no interruptions. Cell phones didn't work. It was just me and the wilderness and God. I got over being angry with God. I realized there are so many things that we simply can't control. It's about how you react to things. This is the hardest thing I've ever been through in life. I came to understand that God isn't the one who gave us cancer. Pastor Blackman continued talking with the man, and as their conversation concluded, she reached out to hug him, and she asked him, tell me, what was your grandson's name? Walker, he said. It's not easy to continue to have faith in God after tragedy strikes in life. So much gets in our way: anger, fear, pain, sadness, loneliness, loss. All of these emotions only complicate the process of forgiving God and make the process of returning to our faith all the more difficult. Shortstop is right. There are so many things in life that we cannot control. And perhaps the answer is that God can't control them either. So why be angry at the one that can't control them? Rabbi Harold Kushner long ago said, if I have to choose between a compassionate God and an omnipotent God, compassion will win out every time. Maybe there are things that God just can't control. But there's a second part to this equation. It's not all about forgiving God. Part of it involves our taking responsibility for that which we can control. Social justice does not mean that we sit by idly when other humans are suffering. It means that we take responsibility for what we can take responsibility for, that we take action for the human wrongs that have been done. This is what the great Jewish theologian Abraham Joshua Heschel called a leap of action. I love that term. Instead of a leap of faith, which theologians talk about all the time, Heschel writes about a leap of action. I'm quoting him. To surpass his needs, writes Heschel, to do more than he understands in order to understand more than he does. In carrying out the word of the Torah, he is ushered into the presence of the spiritual meaning. Through the ecstasy of deeds, a person learns to be certain of the presence of God. In other words, God acts through us, through human action. Or, as the Reverend William Cohee Jr., the founder of Hikers Ministry at the Church of the Mountain, puts it, when speaking of faith, it's not theology, it's we-ology. It's about the oneness of all. It's about us, not him. Lifting the large Bible off the pulpit, Reverend Cohee emphasizes his point again. This, he says, holding the Bible, is nonsense. It's about we-ology. I love that term, weology. It shifts the focus away from God and places the burden of responsibility on humans, on how we respond, for it's through us that God acts. I would posit that we can only take God off the hook when we take ourselves off the hook, when we commit to taking action to better our world, each other, and ourselves. Rabbi Will Berkowitz, the chief executive officer of Jewish Family Service in Seattle, wrote, "By forgiving God, I make God relevant in my life. By forgiving God, I can allow room for my doubts, my struggles, my confusion. By forgiving God, I maintain my relationship and a connection with God, no matter how tenuous it may be at times. By forgiving God, God becomes a force in the world, not some dusty ancient relic, the focus of Hasidic parables. By forgiving God, God reigns, despite everything, despite disease that steals parents from children and children from their parents, despite the hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis, despite my desire, my overwhelming desire to walk the other way. Despite it all, I will strive to forgive. God becomes a force in the world, I would add. Following Heschel's weology, only when we become a force in the world. If you have it in your hearts to forgive God, forgive God. But above all else, in the absence of God, make your presence known. For it's in your presence that the presence of the One thereby becomes visible. Gemar Chatima Tova. We turn to page 223. The ark is open for Yale. We'll read together responsively in the English on the upper left side of the page. May our supplications rise up at evening, our pleas arrive with the dawn, our songs transform the dusk.
May our voices rise up at evening, our righteous acts arrive with the dawn.
May our prayers rise up at evening, coming to you with the dawn, transforming us at dusk.
Transforming us at dusk.
seated as the ark is closed. Read responsibly on the top of page 224. All flesh comes to you who hears prayer. They shall come to bow down before you, Adonai, and they will pay honor to your name. Let us greet God with thanks and sing songs of praise.
Belongs to God. God made it. It was created by God's hands.
In God's hand is every living soul and the breath of all human flesh.
שומע תפילותיך כל בשר יבואו. יבוא כל בשר ישתחוו בפניך אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר.
Page 225.
הנשמה לך והגוף הלך עושה הרמה לך הנשמה לך והגוף הלך עושה
Continuing on 226.
ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא אדוני אדוני אל רחום וחנון ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת נוצה חסד לאלפים נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו בחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ברוב חסד לכל קוראיך.
Page 227. הנה כך אומר ביד היוצר ברצותו מרחיק Ein אנחנו בידך, חסד נוצר להביט הבט, ואל תפן ליצר.
כי הנה כאבן ביד המשטת, ברצותו חייס וברצותו מחטאת. כן אנחנו בידך, מחייב וממוטט לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר.
Read in the English responsively, alternating between the paragraphs. As clay in the hand of the potter who thickens or thins it at will, so are we in your hand, guardian of love. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. As iron in the hand of the blacksmith who forges or withdraws it at will, so are we in your hand, support of the poor. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser.
As the helm in the hand of the sailor who holds the course or abandons it at will, so are we in your hand, good and forgiving God. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser.
As glass in the hand of the glazer who shapes or melts it at will, so are we in your hand, pardoner of sin and transgression. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser.
As cloth in the hand of the draper who drapes or twists it at will, so are we in your hand, righteous God. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser.
As silver in the hand of the smelter who alloys or refines it at will, so are we in your hand, healer of wounds. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. Hine kakesef b'yad ha'tzoveh, Yitzchako misakseh, Yitzchako mitzaveh, Ken anachu b'yadcha, Anzim l'mazov Continuing on page 229.
המלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים, וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צדקות, עם כל בשר ורוח, ולא חרתם אל הורי תלנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שדעת עלינו מקדם, כמו שכתוב, וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא, אדוני,
Adonai,
אל רחום וחנון,
Erech Apayim, Verav Chesed Ve'emet,
נוצר חסד לענפים, נושא אבן ופשע וחטא ונקר, וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחתנו, סלח לנו אבינו, כי חטאנו, נחלנו מלכנו, כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני, טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני, טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני,
Tov v'salah.
ורב חסד, ורב חסד, לכל פורעך.
Page 233, we rise as the ark is opened.
Adonai
אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו אל תעזבנו. The ark is closed, and on the left margin on page 233, we'll read responsively the poem. You can be seated by Eddie Feld. As an owl in the desert screams in the night, so I want to be heard, my God. The eagle circles round and round, higher and higher to protect its young. Carry us on eagle's wings and guard us from danger.
The dove hovers constantly over its young, never tiring of its task, so let me be nestled in your care.
Spread your wings, carry me, watch over me, bring me to your holy house on eagle's wings. Page 234.
Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, selach lanu, mechalenu, kapelanu, kirianu,
Amecha
Ata Eloheinu, Anu V'necha V'ata Avinu, Anu Avadecha V'ata Adonenu, Anu Kehalecha V'ata Chelkeinu, Anu Nachatecha V'ata Godadeinu, Anu Tzonecha V'ata Roheinu, Anu Charecha V'ata Notrenu, Anu Filatecha V'ata Yotzreinu, Anu Rayatecha V'ata Todenu, Anu Segulatecha V'ata Keroveinu, Anu Amecha V'ata Makenu, Anu Mamirecha V'ata Mamirenu.
Responsively, on the left side of the page, under Vidui, Prayers of Confession, we are insolent,
You are gracious and compassionate.
we are obstinate,
You are patient.
we are sinful,
You are merciful.
our days are as a passing shadow, but you are the one who truly is for time without end. Together, our God and God of our ancestors, hear our prayer, do not ignore our plea. Our God and God of our ancestors, we are neither so insolent nor so obstinate as to claim in your presence that we are righteous without sin. For we, like our ancestors who came before us, have sinned. We rise for the short confessional on the top of page 235.
Heavy ולא שבה לנו, ואתה צדיק הכל הבעלינו, כי אמת עשית, ואנחנו הרשענו.
You have always been known as the one who overlooks transgression. Hear our cry as we stand before you in prayer. Overlook the transgressions of a people turning from transgression. Wipe away our transgressions from your sight. The long confessional is found on the top of page 237. Al chet shechatan lefanecha.
על החטא שחטאנו לפניך באונס, ורצון על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ, על החטא שחטאנו. על החטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר, והחטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו. החטא שחטאנו לפניך בכפר שולחן זהב, החטא שחטאנו לפניך בכפת שולחן. על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בעיניים רמות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעזות מצח, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבכיינו, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבכיינו, על החטא שחטאנו. על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתמהום לבב, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו כפרנו.
Seated on page 240, Misha'ana is one of the oldest prayers that we have from the rabbinic period, dating to the 2nd century, to the Mishnah to Ta'anit. We'll read this in English with the refrain, Hu ya'anenu, may he answer us. It's on 240 under the letter Bet. May the one who answered Sarah pass the time of her youth.
hu ya'anenu,
May the one who answered Abraham on Mount Moriah.
hu ya'anenu,
May the one who answered Isaac, their son, bound to the altar.
hu ya'anenu,
May the one who answered Rebekah as her son struggled within her.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Jacob at Beit El.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Leah in her loneliness.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Rachel desperate for a child.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Yosef abandoned in prison.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered the midwives as they stood at the birthing place.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Yocheved having faith on the bank of the Nile.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered the people of Israel on the shores of the sea.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Moshe standing on the slopes of Sinai.
hu ya'anenu,
May the God who answered Miriam with her well of water.
Huya
May
Amen.
the God who answered Aaron offering incense to God.
Huya Amen.
May the God who answered Pinchas seeking his place above the crowd.
Huya
May
Amen.
the God who answered the daughters of Slofchad standing their ground.
Huya Amen.
May the God who answered those who are righteous, upright, decent, and compassionate answer us. Huya Anenu. We rise for Avinu Malkeinu, page 243. Seiman Ilman Shemecha. The ark is closed. We can be seated. Continue with Kaddish Shalem on 245.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמרו הבא.
Amen.
ויעמדי ורקירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון ויאמרון וחיית כל בית ישראל בקלו ובזמן קריב לאמרו אמן. יהי שמרו במבורך לעולם לא מאומיה יתברך וישתבח ויבהר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמר קודשה
Richu.
לעילא לעילא מן כל בחרתה שלטה תשרתו ונחמתה תמירן בהלמה ואמרו אמן. תקבל צלותון ובעודון לכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דבישמעיה ואמרו
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ויעקב ישראל ואמרו
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We rise as the ark is opened for Aleinu.
הכתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימות ללהבנה,
למלך על כל הארץ. Seated, continuing with Psalm 27 on page 248. David Adonai Elohim. Achat shalti mei Adonai otam bakesh. Achat shalti mei Adonai otam bakesh. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לולהם אנטי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קווה אל אדוני חזק, ויאמץ ליבך וקווה אל אדוני. Mourners and those observing Yahrzeit, rise for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 247. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Merabah, De'almad, Yivrach Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, Yomechon, V'chayed, Chol Beit Yisrael, V'gala, V'zman Kariv, V'imru Amen. Yehesh Merabah, Borach, De'olam U'me'al Maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yit'aleh v'yithalal, Shemei d'kudsha brichu, Le'ela u'le'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, Damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom imramav, v'yas shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We'll continue with Yigdal on page 250.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא ויענד אל מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם יסוף לאחדותו. En lo demud aguf, v'en oguf, lo naroch elav, kedushato, kodmon lechol davar, asher nivra, rishon v'en reshit, Hino Adon Olam v'chol notza, Yoreh gedulato u'melachuto, shefa nevuato netano l'anshei segulato. V'tifarto lo kam beYisrael kemo she'od navi u'mabit et munato Torah emet natan le'amoel al yad nevio ne'eman beto lo yacharifel ve'lo yamir dato le'olamim lezulato sofer ve'yodea sitarenu mabit l'sof davar bekadmato gomel leish chased kemif'alo noten lerosh ישרו כרישתו, ישלח לקץ ימים משיחנו, לפתות מחקקת ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך אתה עד שם תהילתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך אתה עד שם תהילתו.
Shana Tova and Gemar Chatima Tova.
שנה טובה.
During the violin, I was sitting back there by Zeb. It's like 5 degrees cooler than it says lights. Yeah, I'm like very sure.
Yes.